Yeah. All right, so who'd like to go first? Ruth.
Ruth. That's right.
Sorry.
Ruth Condon, financial assistant.
For all four divisions,
For all four divisions, yes.
you're overworked, you're underpaid.
Stressed out beyond belief.
Yeah. Well, you have a great boss, right?
Yes.
The whole script.
I know, I got it upstairs.
Jeez.
I don't like talking about it. Great boss, great working environment, good coworker.
He runs 4 or 5 days a week?
No, 3 or 4.
Okay, 3 or 4.
No, sometimes I guess you're
I'll just.
right.
talk
Thank you.
about
Just
it.
continue. They're really good.
Big runner.
What else would y'all like to know?
So you said you're doing the parks or the program, what you say, sorry?
Oh, she's the financial assistant for all 4
For-
divisions, so she's processing all bills and invoices
In the
and
purchase order?
purchase orders.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty busy,
Busy, but it's not
Making
just
sure the
like-
account numbers aren't coming
right?
back. Porta potties and.
Making sure they get.
Helping keep budgets straight.
I was gonna say, thank you for all the help you've given us and Tamara for Groton, helping us track the budget and place orders for all the random things that are like.
Thanksgiving too.
Yeah, exactly, like.
If we don't have, question for your financial life, say we have an operating budget of, I don't know, like 100K, whatever it is, I'm not sure that, but say like you don't use it, you use 90K in 1 year, talking say, and does that roll over to our account for next year? How does that work, like financially?
Well, it depends on which budget we're talking about. So the tax-supported budget, I'm not exactly sure where that money, it doesn't roll over.
It doesn't come back to our account, so if
Right.
we don't spend it, it goes to general fund and other things that I think help grow the unencumbered fund balance. But your enterprise fund
Yeah,
stuff, that
enterprise
rolls over.
funds, so if we generate more revenue than expenses, we have fund balances for both the golf course fund balances, close to $1 million. And I think the program's fund balance is like 380,000.
So you have those two called bank accounts and then the operating budget would roll back into the general fund.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Once it's rolled in there, it doesn't, it's not immediately accessible. You need a reason to kind of tap into it to spend it and get
Right,
approvals to.
So you may or may not get that.
yeah.
Okay.
For all practical purposes, you don't, you have to go out to the council and the RTM if you wanna spend money.
Yeah, and you can't, because you have a fund balance, you're not supposed to overspend with the approved budget. But if it does happen, I mean, there's circumstances that does happen, then it falls back. It's not like a fourth quarter transfer.
Yeah, okay, I got it, thanks.
Denise?
My name is Denise Sanchez. I'm the new community outreach coordinator for all 4 divisions. I recently began in March being ropes. Like Ruth said, it's a great staff, great environment. We're starting off our summer programming and I've been able to meet a lot of community partners. It's been great.
Yeah, and she's, you know, she really is.
So
Doing a wonderful job.
what are your thoughts for, like, obviously you're just jumping in, right? So like you're organizing crazy stuff. But like, do you have ideas or like, community, not outreach, but, some places have, like a traditional, fair or like barbecue or something like every year, like, Thrive's done like Christmas season things, like, do you have ideas of like, do you think you wanna do anything like that for the town? Maybe you don't have total ideas, do you have ideas for that, or like, is that in your plan, or kind of like?
I'd like to focus more on like cultural events, so kind of celebrating the diversity
Okay.
of the town. So coming up with events and working with partners to see what we can kind of put together that's intentional. But for big plans, like for next year, I'm probably gonna have to learn the ones we have currently going on. But
And diversity in terms of like, hey, like the town, I don't think so. The town had a history of like, I don't know, like importing, wood, maybe something like, you know, like that type of diversity or diversity like is in like cultural diversity.
More like cultural, or like underserved communities, working with local organizations.
Yes, so one of her big things is kind of outreach with the various groups around where with kind of her position and the new programmer that came on was, you know, we heard that we want more cultural events, we want more community events. And, you know, with the limited capacity that 3 people have, it's identifying those groups that could kind of assist us in doing it. How can we help you run this community event? Like Women Between Cultures is a great example. They do programming almost every Tuesday now with like special events or kind of it's all women, everybody's kind of invited, but it's most of the stuff is open male or female, correct? But we don't necessarily do the heavy lifting. We provide them a space, whatever support they need, and they just become a community. So that's sort of one way that she's working.
So you're gonna put together like some proposals for different events in that categories for like next year or something.
Maybe in the future, we're working towards that.
Okay.
But for now, I think we're trying to work out what the community events that are going on, and if anything, expanding on them. Try and see how we can better.
Another
Yeah,
other big focus is we pulled the brochure back. We had been contracting that out, which created its own difficulties without having a recreation-minded person formatting everything, and doing the proof. So this next book is going to
Oh,
Denise, yeah,
And she handles all our sessions.
Okay, cool.
yeah.
I'm Melissa Porter. I'm one of the program supervisors. I primarily do fitness and arts programming, and I oversee the community center.
Pickleball.
And
Lady likes
yes,
pickleball. That's a beast unto itself.
and the GBA.
Basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah. There's a couple of them.
So that's like a town thing or that's like a private person? I never heard of it.
Groton, GBA?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, no, that's a community-wide youth.
yeah, okay. So that's like a Parks and Rec run. league,
Oh, yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So a lot of the kids who don't make the teams, you know, in the schools and stuff,
Yeah.
gives them an opportunity.
Well, like an 18-year-old.
Yeah. And they play other
Yes,
sports.
we have a girls division that's, you know, all counts throughout.
Is that all year round, just summertime?
GBA is in the fall into the early winter.
And then you also do the summer concert.
Oh, yeah, I do the summer concerts, which are coming up. Every Thursday,
Yeah.
around 6 to 8, except our last one. Days are booked, all that stuff. Doing the fine tuning now.
4th of July parade.
4th of July parade.
There's a lot.
Celebration over the Thames, although they're not having the Sail Fest, so to speak. We're still doing our side, so fireworks, vendors, we have a band. We'll still do everything we did last year.
That's it. I'm Beth Whipple, I'm the office assistant. I run the office and provide administrative support to Spicer House. And I have 2 great bosses.
Oh, I left that out.
Was that right? Did I get that?
AKA the boss.
Maybe who does what we got. Nice.
She's the one we all answer.
She's really kind of super. It's all of us.
Yeah.
There's a lot. You can't explain everything.
I believe it.
I guess Ben Moore's manager of recreation services, so kind of anything that falls under the recreation umbrella of our department, I and also support for all. Coming from a programmer of 15 years,
Yeah.
used to doing their thing for a while, and now help them learn.
That's what the department for.
He's only 18.
Hey, let's try to do it. Well,
Good afternoon.
uh,
I apologize.
isn't it a good day? Elizabeth spent a month, right,
Yep.
in Australia,
I did,
Oh, wow.
yeah, April,
Nice.
yeah.
so she's still in Australia.
Oh, thank you, yes. There's no excuse for me, I mean.
They're 15 minutes behind us.
Well, it depends on where you are in Australia.
Oh, okay.
There's a half-hour difference
Oh,
between
is
two areas.
Is there really?
Yeah, very strange.
That's.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
I think everyone knows me. I've been around this place for so long. I'm Elizabeth Hogan, been a resident of Groton since 1987. And you can do the math. Been a member of the commission for 5 years, I think. Something like that. Anyway, and I'm also very active down at Thrive 55 and volunteer there and president of Club 55. I think you got a very nice picture of me. Thank you. At the expo. We, like the department as a whole, are very busy this time of year. We've had our flea market, which was very successful. We've awarded $4,000 in scholarships this year to 6 Groton residents. And we'll be announcing who they are on Friday. And we're getting ready for the outdoor market, and then charging into the Scoop Mobile in July and onto the dinner dance in August, all of which are fundraisers and also social events for seniors. In the meantime, I take care of my cat.
Travel.
Pardon?
And travel.
Yes, and travel.
Yes.
So I'm Mike Frank. I'm also one of the commissioners for Parks and Rec here. Probably, I don't know, maybe 3-ish years on the board here. I live in the state. I've been in the area since 2012, maybe 2008 timeframe, we'll say. But yes. I'm not retired. I'm not to travel really. Like, I do have 2 kids, so you know.
You got a cat?
I do not have a cat.
I don't think you need one.
I do not need one. Keep myself busy enough.
Yeah, you're already herding 2 cats, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're just on the.
Well, I'm here for citizens, item.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to wait a little,
Whatever.
so you're retired. And Rockberry director. 4 different divisions, work out of this office. Somehow I ended up with not the ocean view, but a view. Yeah, I don't know how that, well, I know exactly how. The new guy's coming next week. Quick, move all the offices.
And this is really the record.
Been here, well, 13 years. Nice. It's a great place to work. I love the opportunity to be able to, the diversity of the job, and to be able to get outside. And feel like we're working with a team that's making progress.
Who runs like everyone like the program, like the like all the like you're doing the basketball like thing, but like all the program, like, you know, we got the program guide, like, which helping publish, and then all the managing of all the actual sports programs, putting them together, like, who does that?
They're split up. There's actually 3 of us.
Okay.
2 are out today,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but so it's split between us. Like I handle the fitness and arts programming for the most part.
Okay.
And then we have somebody who does all the aquatics and special rec, and then somebody doing the camps. So it's split between us.
Yeah, okay.
So of the 3 programmers, one of them will be assigned to pretty much anything.
Yeah, we were working on it.
Each Casey who's been here 20 years.
Yep.
And then Olivia DeTore just started 4 months ago.
Yes.
A lot of it.
She's been doing, yeah, she's been doing some road races, the bike rodeo, there'd be a traffic card. So,
And then as far as like park maintenance, work, things like that, do they all, that fall underneath one person? Like,
Yeah,
how
that's-
does that all work?
Tabitha Wilson, she's the manager. of space. Stole her planning.
Okay.
But John got me back.
We stole
We
claims.
stole the
Yes.
thing and do it, was it? Yeah, she works out of the parks maintenance. All of the work goes through her.
Any question? Nice to meet you all, thank you.
Just meet on.
Anything for us like that, like we should know about, or things like that we can help you as like a commission, like, you know, we get run through different items or comment and how we think we wanna run the park, you know, petitions from folks, like, is there anything like I like to ask for at these like that you think we should know about, or like that could help you, or either budgetary or like socially or whatever, to like do your job better, make it better for Groton, things like that, anything that nature. You want the public to know, you want to take care of the public, I don't know.
I mean, I would say one of the nice things that I think I've witnessed with most of the current commission is that you guys all do a good job of learning what's really happening. You know, it's not just based on assumptions, and there tends to be pretty good questions about what's going on, and you have a pretty good understanding, so which hasn't always been the case, and so things that you're giving input on are based on, you know, real information. Helps us.
We're
Yeah,
always looking for sponsors, you know, anytime for any of our events, so.
Okay.
you know, somebody- We have a lot of support from the community, from the businesses, but, you know, we can always use more, when we turn that down.
And so when you do an event and you look for sponsorship, like what, I just don't know, like, is it like, do they give you like gift cards? Do they give you like free printing? Like, what does a sponsor do? Like, what would
So
someone
it
be
could
like?
be a number of things. It could be sponsoring an event and actually giving dollars towards the event.
Okay.
So for instance, the concerts, we have Groton Utilities with our presenting sponsor, and that's a chunk of money. And then we have headlining sponsors, which is a little less, they get certain things and it goes on. So for an event like that, there's an actual package
Gotcha,
that they would get. But a lot of things are in kind, like gift cards or whatever that we may be giving out. So we ask some, so it's both. I do have a shameless plug to make though. We're looking for a grand, Mark's like, what's she gonna say? The parade's coming up, and we're just putting out for the grand marshal. So if you have ideas of somebody who really represents the community.
Or July?
Yes.
For the 4th of July parade, yes. So there is a way to, the community can, you know, nominate somebody and then we'll get all the nominations.
In
Just keep
addition
that
to
one.
gift cards, we do get lobsters. For the Tour de Noé, that's some of our runners. Habits. Yeah, all kinds of different gifts. Live lobsters, they come down with a box full of them on ice.
Good.
People are
done.
That's so nice.
Yeah. And I feel like the community is really supportive of what we're doing. And I also feel really fortunate. As a department, across all aspects of it.
I think we've done a lot of studies and plans, so you're informed why you're doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're not just doing projects because you like, you know, you have a priority of projects, and that's
Right.
like one of the reasons I joined was like I wanted to drive what is priority, what is needed, what is based on feedback and fact, you know, community, not just like, we're gonna go do this, but we have no idea what the top 3 priorities are, right? We're
Right.
just gonna spend money without having
Yeah,
or doing that, like coming with like facts of like, you know, these are the 10 things, this is why I want to do this first, this is why I need to do this first, not just here's a list, just throw on a dartboard and go do it, and then realize, well, I had something that was more important, but I really didn't pay attention to it, so now I'm gonna bring it up and now I'm more money because
yeah, the recreation master plan.
I think that's good.
Yeah, great. Great. Right, it's 4:30 punch out, so I don't.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
So I think
Yeah, we're gonna move to. We're gonna move to go Groton. Yeah.
A slightly updated version of the slides connected with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Just go in
The front ones are taken, but you got some on the back. There we go. Your keyboard and your mouse probably.
Oh. Yep. Good one, try.
Yeah. Assuming you want me to share it so it doesn't work.
Yes, please.
Okay. You know that. Hey, all right, we did it. Ooh, sorry. Everybody. I am Megan Granado. I'm the Sustainability and Resilience Manager for the town of Groton. I work with John in the Office of Planning and Development Services.
I'm John Rhino, the Director of Planning.
And one of the initiatives we've been working on in concert with Parks and Rec has been what we're calling Go Groton, which stands for Get Outdoors Groton. And we're gonna explain to you a little bit about what Go Groton is and some things coming up that we're hoping. So the team is more than just us. So like I mentioned before, it's me and John from planning. Originally it was Clayton from Parks, and now Denise has been kind enough to join the crew. And then also Groton Public Schools is represented. We have Ben Moon, who's one of the STEM coordinators, and also Clint Kennedy, who works for in our IT department. And then also GOSA, Groton Open Space Association, is one of the key partners as well. Dan O'Connell has been their rep. So our team was accepted into a program called Nature Everywhere, and we were selected through a nationwide competition, which was really exciting. So we were one of, I think, 17 communities in that cohort to get selected. Nature Everywhere is a program that's trying to increase access to nature in communities across the nation by 2050. And so how they're doing that is they are selecting communities to work with, and they're providing technical assistance, funding, you know, a lot of peer learning opportunities, and they set out this pathway for us to build towards building a nature equity. You might be asking the question, well, why are you doing this? We had heard in communication with our colleagues at Groton Public School and also GOSA that it was really routine. They were running into a lot of kids who just don't spend time outside. And so Ben, who's one of our, not this Ben, other Ben, although he gets our emails all the time on this, Ben Moon, yeah, when he was a science teacher at Catherine Kolnaski, he ran a program called CK Explorers. That was just a hiking club, just to get kids outside. And he was like, you could see the difference throughout the school year that you had all these kids who were like afraid of the woods because that's what Disney taught them, or who, you know, they didn't live near woods. And so, you know, their parents were afraid of bugs, so now they're afraid of bugs. And they didn't know how to just like in an unstructured way enjoy being outside. And so that's what he did. He just brought them out on hikes. And it wasn't like, oh, you have to stop and study this particular thing. It just was. And seeing the growth in those kids and how it helped them with emotional regulation, academically, that was kind of what spurred a lot of this. And GOSA has been partnering with the school system to do hiking field trips. And they always ask at the beginning of the hiking field trip of like, who here has never been on a hike before? And it's routine that a third of the kids will raise their hands. So, you know, hearing that that was a need in the community, and then knowing all the research about the benefits of time in nature that can provide for kids, socially, mentally, improves academic performance. It was something that we were really interested in finding a way that we could help support, especially under the purview of planning, where we work on a lot of these big overarching documents like the Plan of Conservation Development. We're going to be starting to develop a climate action plan for the town. We have a handle on how some of the larger vision for the town gets set. And so we thought we could play an interesting role in this partnership.
And, a lot of the work we do, it's not just all economic development based. It is around working with Parks and Recreation on the long-term master plan, looking at our open space. And one of the best ways to get people to be supportive of engaging with the environment, or, what does this have to do with sustainability and resilience? If people don't understand what nature is, they're never going to be in favor of doing the things that we need to protect nature and make sure that we're being, planning for resiliency when it comes to things like climate change, sea level rise, and supportive of the implementation of a lot of the goals that are in our plan of conservation and development, specifically around, trails, around improvements to our parks and rec facilities, and, open space preservation. So all of these things really tie together. It might sometimes be like, well, why are you doing this as part of planning and development? We're continuing, always trying to do outreach and engagement to get people to understand how the linkage of all of these things work. And the best way is if we can start introducing some of these concepts to the kids through a great initiative, like, hey, how can we get you outdoors more? How can we get you engaged with nature? Then they understand the importance of nature, and it just helps balance things.
Yeah, and I already recapped this. This is just a snapshot of what the program provided. So I mentioned we were given funding through this program, and we use that to invest in hiring a part-time temporary position. That's Tamara Berry. She is the youth organizer, and she's actually a Parks and Rec employee. So she was hired through the Marks Group. And then we also, for a time, had 2 youth leaders. Those were both high school students from Fitch. And the whole point was, if we're going to be building a plan to benefit kids in our community, it needs to be informed by the kids in our community. So their whole focus was trying to get information, and I'll talk about, some of the events that we've held to do that, but really try to connect with kids and parents and just adult residents at large in the community around some of these issues, and to understand what some of the barriers are. So our Go Groton group has organized a number of events. We did our kickoff at the Community Wellness Hub. We did a stakeholder workshop at Project O. We also most recently held a spring fair at Branford Manor, where we brought in a food truck, and we had outside activities and games. John and Dan from GoSell led some hikes, and really just had a day to get to talk with the people that live there and hear some of their feedback as well. And we've had, small group conversations, educators, community groups, youth. We've showed up to pretty much every community event that's been going on. So Earth Day Expo, Children First Groton resource fairs, Subbates Family Day, Fitch and Groton Middle School open houses, POSB kickoff event, and so on and so forth, because we're really trying to get to all parts of the community, right? We were really trying to hear from everyone, and we were so lucky through being able to hire Tamara and the interns to have the bandwidth to do that. We're not quite done. We have a community cafe that we're co-hosting with Children First Groton coming up in about a week. And also we have a partnership event with the Connecticut National Estuarine Research Reserve to do a Trails Day Family Fun Day at Bluff Point State Park in the beginning of June. So that kind of begs the question of okay, when you're talking to community, what are you talking about? Like I mentioned, we were really trying to get the input on how are people connecting with open space and outdoor recreation in Groton, and how are they not? And if they're not, what are some of those barriers? What are the perceptions? What are the concerns? Because those are the things that we can see to address in our plan. And so depending on the event, we would do interactive posters. We also had a survey that we gave out at some of the events, and we also hosted online. And we're continuing to crunch some of the numbers on the survey, but I want to give you just a quick snapshot. We got over 300 responses, which we thought was pretty cool, especially because more than half of them were from youth. So we had 164 youth surveys. We looked at who we're hearing from in terms of racial ethnic identity, where they live. The city of Groton block is so big because we did that Branford Manor event. So that's where the majority of that was coming from. you know, for us, it was exciting. We got a decent amount of response from the sub-base and Navy housing, which is a community that we don't often hear a lot from when we do community events and surveys. And, you know, some of the questions we asked were simple. Parents, do you want your kids to spend more time outside? Kids, do you want to play outside more? And the answer was overwhelmingly yes. 90% of adults want their kids to spend more time outside. 83% of kids want to spend more time outside. So then asking them, well, why aren't you? What are the barriers? It differed by audience. The biggest thing for youth was not enough time, right? Kids today are, as a parent, I think I can say this, over-programmed. It's really hard not to fall into that trap of having every minute of the day accounted for. So time is a big one. Thinking that other kids aren't interested, which is interesting to me because 83% of kids say they want to play outside more, but they don't know that each other feels that way. And also not knowing where to go was for both youth and adults. So that for us was like, okay, well, this is something that we can do something about. I mean, with Denise being part of the group and being able to put out more information, connect with people, there's resources we can develop to try to fix. Weather, it was an issue, youth and adults. I mean, get it when it's sleeting out. I don't want to go outside either. But one of the other interesting things we heard from adults was the issue of that they don't feel safe sending their kids outside. And that's one of the things we're going to try to dive into at the community cafe with Children's First Ryan is, okay, is it that you don't feel safe because of crime or perceptions of crime, or do you not feel safe because, you know, as a parent of a 7-year-old, society now tells you that if you can't see your kid at all times, that's not a safe situation. So we're going to try to get a little bit more information on that, but also the not knowing where to go was something that resonated with adults. So we have a couple of things coming up that we wanted to put on your radar. So one of the initiatives that we're about to be bringing to council is a children's outdoor bill of rights. And if you've not seen one of those or familiar with what a COBOR is, a lot of cities and some states even have them. And it's sort of like the 10 commandment style of what every kid in your community should have the right to do. We chose to develop one for Groton because, you know, you all have been patient and listening to me talk for, you know, 5-10 minutes now. You don't always have a chance to explain that entire progression to people. A COBOR is such a clear messaging piece of like, what is this all about? It's about this. It's about making sure every kid in our community gets to do these important core things. And then that really becomes, the COBOR becomes a vision statement for the rest of our nature equity plan. And so when we build out the goals and the activities that we commit to doing in that plan, we're going to be making sure that we are addressing any of those barriers so that the COBOR can be achieved. And then one last exciting thing was that Parks and Rec, on behalf of the Go Groton team, submitted a Connecticut DOT microgrant. It was through their active transportation program, requesting $5,000 to purchase bicycles, helmets, and locks specifically for kids living in the Branford Manor community. And so we recently learned that our request was successful. And so we're going to be bringing that to council in June as well.
And one of the things that Megan didn't go into too much detail about the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights. This isn't something that we just said, oh, well, this is what we think, you know, sounds good and we're going to run with it. This was something that we looked at some of these COBORs from communities across the nation, some of the best examples out there. And then we started taking this out to a lot of the kids within the community. So sitting down with the Branford Manor kids, getting information from all of these surveys and getting a lot of community input. And this was kind of the best example that we came up as kind of these like 10 commandments of things that kids in Groton should do. And we field tested this with a lot of kids within the community. So this isn't just something that we, the adults, came up with of what we think that kids should be doing. These are things, especially they really love to ride a bike, breathe clean air, climb a tree. Those are kind of some of the big three that they really gravitated to. And then, you know, some of these other.
You know, as I look at that, it's kind of shocking to me because that was my childhood and I didn't think
Yeah.
twice about it. But I also felt very safe, and I think that is gonna be a critical issue.
So that was the gist of the presentation. We really wanted to just present to you what Go Groton was. We would love to hear any feedback you have on the draft cohort. And then we would also love if the Parks and Rec Commission felt comfortable providing a letter of support for the micro grant, the cohort, for when we present to council.
I had two thoughts as you were presenting. The first one was, when you talked about Navy housing, that segment, did that also include the non-Navy people in the Northwest quadrant?
Yeah.
Because they are definitely feeling this. There's no place for those children to come safely. The other is, were you aware that Thrive sponsors Oats, which is an outdoor activity for seniors? There may be an opportunity there. There's just some partnership. And also the outdoor market on June 14th brings families in, and maybe another opportunity for communication with this population.
And a couple things, I think you answered what the cohort was, that was my questions, but the kids not going outside today, you said like, so, population range, I'll just say like elementary school, middle school, high school, all. Like what is the target?
It's all.
Okay.
Because we know, like, working with our partners in the school system, yes, there are some grades that still get recess, but high school doesn't. And why not? Like that, even like these are some of the things as we're talking with them. Yes, is it a reach, or how can we get kids to spend time in nature during the school day? Well, in the Board of Ed partnering with GOSA, kind of growing out of some of these connections we've made as part of this initiative. Now GOSA has got grant money to take bus loads of kids to some of their properties and take them hiking during the school day. And it's a spectacular way for them to get out and explore nature, learn about the environment. And it's not just, walking in the woods, and there's a whole lot of other
It can really be a part of the curriculum, like Project O is.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we're lucky that most of our elementary schools have outdoor spaces, outdoor classrooms, some of them have pollinator gardens and things like that. One of the things that we're also conscientious of is how some of those opportunities that drop off the older that the kids get. So whereas at the elementary level, perhaps especially through recess, there's a little bit more time. Once you get to middle school, I think there's like one hiking club that does like long distance hikes, or there's one faculty member who takes some kids to like the Adirondacks. But like other than that, it becomes less frequent. So that's something we've also been mindful of, is not just focusing on elementary age, but really trying to think, sort of like K through 12.
As well as there's structured play. We think about a lot of the stuff that Parks and Rec, through basketball, baseball, and other activities. And there's also the unstructured play of just letting kids figuring it out on their own, the pickup baseball game, or whatever it is, go play manhunt in the woods. All of those types of things are just as a group going for a walk in the woods.
I know you're kind of just beginning this, but it probably isn't a bad idea. Like we put out that program book. Twice a year we put it out.
3 times.
3 times. Like kind of advertise some future events in there. Kind of not bad, right? I read it. Papers, things like that from my generation, but that might not be a bad idea for some PR stuff. In the future, right? Just people might look through it and see something. You have to have a plan for it in advance, but like logistics.
Right.
I think it would be good, you talked about safety, right? It would be good to deep dive safety. What I mean is like, it could be I bring kids to a playground, but there's 4 entrances and I have to watch them all now. Or like if there was 1 entrance, then I could sit by benches by that 1 entrance and not have to worry as much because no one's hopping a 4-foot fence. I'm making something up, right? It's like there's different levels of safety that some stuff that you can't obtain and like, socially think about, and some stuff like you could do something about. So like, defining like what might be good. Some people might just not feel safe anyway. Might not be able to do anything about it, but what tactically could be done at a reasonable level, right? We're not going to put police officers in the park, like 20%. Well, you know, what is something like may influence the park design or do something that could improve some of that? You know, is it a parking lot lighting or something like that we could act on if we had some feedback as we thought about projects? That would be interesting, feedback, like us. If we did that. So I think you're asking for the Bill of Rights, like our blessing or whatever. So, I mean, I guess we'll probably make a motion to like say if we like it or not. I mean, I think that would be like the step here. Is that what we were looking to do?
Yeah,
Mark?
I think they're also looking for a letter of support.
So for, in early June, the June 10th town council meeting, the committee of the whole, we're gonna go there, Mark and I, and present the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights, which we've mentioned to the council before, but we're looking for them. In an ideal world to say, yep, we support this, we'll adopt this as, you know, kind of a town policy, and then also accepting that $5,000 micro grant, which we don't need to take down to the RTM, but just having the support of this group would be immense.
And do you guys want to talk a little bit about kind of like step 2? I mean, you're looking for this a second phase to this whole thing. So this was
Oh,
the
yeah.
actual implementation. So it's not going to just end at a Bill of Rights. Yeah, so.
Thank you, that's
yeah.
good, yeah. So once we finish this nature equity plan, it opens the door for us to apply to the same program to get implementation. So we will be going through the process of picking like our highest priority action through the plan and then immediately turning that into a grant proposal that's likely going to be due in August. And then we're already looking, we all apply for a lot of grants. So we were also looking at other programs that we could connect some of this stuff into so that we can be, you know, finding other sources of revenue potentially to bring some of the improvements or changes or programs that we hope to.
And this is not a federal, you know, grant program. This is a kind of a private group that gives out money for communities for this type of stuff. So things that are happening at the federal level are not.
We're done.
I mean, if it makes sense, then it's kind of like good because it doesn't affect our other plans. I think it's yes. Do we write a letter then as like commissioners, or how does that work? I'm asking.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we
I
can
haven't
provide you
raised
some.
business question though. We don't have a quorum today.
No, we do not. But you could, well,
As we could as
yes,
individuals,
individuals, yes,
write a letter.
right.
Okay.
We'll talk.
Okay. That's fine.
I mean, if you want to give some, sorry.
If you wanted to dress them up and then I'll read it and make any comments, let me just Does that sound good? Okay. That's fine. I mean, I think the children's voting rights is fine. My only, I think it's a good thing. My only concern, I'll just throw it out there, is I wouldn't want to endorse or sign up to something and then be like, that's what we went to it. One of the things was like, you know, keep our wishes clean. We all want to do that, right? But like, I want to make sure I don't think this is where we're going at all, but I'm just throwing it out there, like, you know, I don't want to be like, oh, all of a sudden someone puts on the table, we can't start selling plastic water bottles at the Esquire Beast concert. Because we learned like, you know, I don't think we're going, I'm throwing it out there because I want to make sure everyone understands, like, I think these are the right things to do, but I don't want it to lead to something that like is read a different way and then affects the majority of the community where we don't want that thing. But just so that we're all on the same page, like I endorse them, but I don't want it to be used like that. And be like, oh, well, we're gonna go pursue these 3 things now because it supports that. But really the community doesn't want those 3 things.
Yeah.
So like, that's just.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't think it's
that,
your intent, I just wanted to.
yeah, no, I can appreciate that. I mean, I think the cohort and all of the outreach we've done, I mean, in our minds, that is the focus.
Agreed.
It's not right trying to find a way around
That's-
something else.
I guess. I mean, it does help support that, but not in the way that people want. Yeah, so, good. Yes.
No, that's a good point, because sometimes things too get,
Little wavy.
yeah.
And then people throw the whole thing out. Like, I mean, look at our public entity chart. Different topic, but right, we went to an extreme now. We're probably gonna do everything because we went too far. So that's what I don't want to happen.
No, the whole intent of this is how can we get people in nature more.
Which I'm gonna finish.
And that's, there's no
Yeah.
hidden agenda of
Yep.
stopping sales of nip bottles or
Yeah.
anything else. It's like, we're not there.
I got you. I'm supportive of everything.
Yeah. But no, valid, definitely valid.
Sounds good to me.
Well, thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Nice seeing you.
Jim's not coming, but that's being clear. Right, so we'll get you over something, I guess, yeah.
And if you want a little help with some
June
language,
10th, right?
for the June 10th
Yeah, so
committee, the whole meeting,
so we would need it by June.
4th-ish.
Yeah.
Did it go in the agenda packet? Or do we need it for the?
Either one would work. I mean, for the council meeting would be, that's very helpful. So either one, I mean, if we had it in advance, that's great, but if you have another meeting, you want to discuss it more, whatever works for you.
Yeah, the commission meets once a month, fourth.
Yep.
Wednesday, so.
I mean, I think the letter of support from, coming from the two of you, and Mark and I can bring it up that we presented it to the group and that
Right.
you were supportive of it.
I think that's fine, and we'll just write like in your letter as commissioner, not as council.
Well, since we can't do it officially because we don't have a quorum, we can send it as a memo to Mark,
Yes,
and then you would have that to present.
sure, okay. I assume you're getting other letters and support from Red, maybe, COSA.
That was on my agenda.
Yeah.
With all the things we discussed today, I forgot, but yeah, that is, you are the start of our letter requesting campaign.
You were good, and you're gonna use funding to do hiring and get people, I think, I'd be for this commission of like, hey, if we should be putting like, one of your things, there was the post event. Like, there's certain things we should be doing at the park, safer, I think like that, so I think that would be good back to us, right? Like all the other social events work, like, good to brief us, but like, we're not gonna affect our day-to-day decision making, but the other things could.
Yeah,
Right,
for
like,
sure.
we're parts of that would be helpful for us. Oh, think about this, think about
Yeah, that would be really helpful if people are uncomfortable in parks, trying to figure out, okay, what we can do.
it. And just certain parks, certain areas, community parks, favorite parks, like, what,
Right,
that would be it. Oh,
yeah,
but
exactly,
it could be a low budget thing potentially.
right,
Maybe,
I think like the enhancements that are gonna be done to Windward Passage,
right,
that neighborhood largely doesn't know it exists.
yeah,
So they would be hesitant initially,
right,
about having
Right.
children go there independently.
right. Yeah, I mean, essentially it looks like a private playground between two homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not particularly visible, so.
You want one thing you had on your, open or whatever it is there, climb a tree. I'm a little concerned about that because there's a Tree Climbers International and stuff that has a lot of safety concerns and all this type of stuff, both for the trees as well as for the kids. And I don't know if you've taken that into consideration when you throw it out there, sounds nice on the surface, but when you get involved in it, you get yourself into a real mess. I just point that out to you. You might want to think about some of the concerns that climbing a tree has.
No, I hadn't thought about that, to be honest, Tom. I mean, the COBOR is supposed to, it's not a demand that every kid does it, right? It's
Right.
just, kids should have the freedom and access and ability to.
But if you had to say right now, as the town staff, or you put this and prove it, what tree should I be climbing? What call comes into you, what are you gonna tell them to go do? Or where to go? Okay, I don't think in your parks and rec regulations, you want them trying climbing on trees, right?
we're not putting that in the regulations.
Yeah, it's
I'm
not
just saying.
restricted, yeah.
I
mean, I
understand
think-
your point, though.
You know,
Yeah,
if you looked at that list, you could come up with a reason
Not
to
to whoever
pull
sees something.
something. Not-
Yeah.
Yeah, single riding,
Planting clean water is what we should encourage people to get, because we don't know if they have swimming skills, like, I feel like you could.
Yeah.
It's giving people opportunities to do a lot of the things that we all did as kids. And just, again, getting kids to connect with nature. So whether that means hugging a tree, sitting in a tree, You know, I don't think a lot of kids are gonna be scaling to the top of the tree. Again, it's giving them some opportunity.
Good point. Yeah, there's some common sense.
Yeah,
That was one.
No, I remember my dad giving us a list of which trees we could climb.
Yeah.
So,
Very
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
bye-bye.
But I think, so, are we skipping meeting minutes then? Yeah. We only have one, actually, right?
We're gonna 15 minutes.
So citizens petitions and comments.
Yeah.
You have
We
those.
did.
Yeah, I'm here
Yeah.
as a representative of the I was here a year ago this time. I brought the list of the proposed regulation updates for the inventory. And I'm just urging, and I see the POCD is coming up here, and just to refresh your memory, I understand your problems here now. I have a better understanding of issues and stuff with delaying, moving forward with that, but so it just doesn't get lost. There's effort involved. I just following up. That's why I came here.
Yeah,
Can we vote on it?
it's not lost.
No, that helped. You were, you put together the final document at our March meeting.
What is that what you're asking? I thought you were talking about.
No. I think he's talking about the Parks and Rec Department has a set of rules and regulations.
Right.
Part of that was an inventory of existing facilities.
And we approved that.
Yeah, and
I thought we did.
Tom is right.
Approved the
And what Tom is asking for is for us to go back to the council with not only that, but also updates to the rules and regulations. 'Cause it's kind of all one piece.
So what updates would we have? Just fill me in, right? Like, so like we approved, like I think we had a lot of discussion, we went through, we had all those, you know, like.
Well, no, all the inventory is all up to date. I have no problem with the inventory.
Right.
I'm just concerned the next step of getting that finalized. Because right now, the way the POCD draft is going, when I talk to the consultants and stuff during the open house that they have, I think that's one I'm to hear.
Yeah.
Is that the POCD is going to shift over to the state definition. As
Okay.
opposed to the
Okay.
current definition that we had from the last contractor. By going to the state definitions, if it's in the deed, that's with the assessor's office. We know what's open space from the assessor's office. But the other one would be what's established in that inventory and getting that inventory up to date so that it's consistent with the new POs.
So some of the assigned terms in the recent inventory needs to be amended to match the state language.
Okay, whatever you guys are gonna do.
Well, no, I'm asking you.
Right now, the current, if I go online and your Parks and regulation, I think it's from 2013.
Right.
It hasn't been updated in 12 years, okay? And so, and that's there's been a lot of changes to that inventory and stuff that we updated last year. The inventory got up to last year's is pretty current. We really haven't done anything in the last 12 months here to change, over the last couple of months here, to change that. But that would be attached to whatever other updates that you would have, you know, regulation wise, and then that package would then be approved and updated. So there'd be a 2025 version. That's all I'm saying. It's 12 years is a long time to go for regulations. To be unamended.
Is there, I don't even know where you should be
There
there.
are-
So,
Oh, yeah.
Parks and
Parks and Rec regulations. Yeah.
so I guess I'm saying, like, do we have an action, like?
Yeah, so when I
to
did,
regulate, like,
I
don't know
didn't
what I-
finish making the updates.
Yeah,
They go to you,
okay,
you say, yeah, this makes sense, or no.
got it.
And then from there, go to the council.
So we just have an action maybe next meeting or whenever you're ready. To
Yeah.
bring it to us, we would.
But you have a forum.
We have
Right.
we did the open space.
We did the
thing, so that was
inventory.
regulated.
Yeah, the inventory.
The inventory is, and up to date, that's the rules and regulations.
That's future action.
Yeah,
I didn't even know we had it, so.
Yeah, no
that's why
problem.
I'm asking.
I just, I wanted to follow up here. And I know Mark has been working on it. He's told me he's been working on it. And I just,
And I
you
have,
know, I felt it's a 1-year anniversary.
I told Tom, because I saw Tom somewhere. Oh, I guess,
Charles for it, ask for
yeah, and I said, Tom, there will not be a second anniversary.
Which he said, good.
Yes,
Well, I'm
very
hopeful. I'm
pleased.
hopeful.
Yes,
That's the only reason I stopped by.
Yeah. Okay,
So, if you need me for anything else, otherwise I'll head out.
I don't think so.
Okay,
Thanks, though.
thanks a lot. Look out of your for. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Tom.
We'll see.
Only thing I had from like citizens is like, there's a bunch of people in my community that like, I can show you, that I think they might have reached out to Mark, to you or someone else, but, like. In the Heathergill playground, like the mini one, the big one, but this golf course,
Yeah.
there's like 3 like wood chip areas.
Yeah.
Like 2 of them like flood, like, I don't know if you see them, they flood like bad, and like they don't, like they take like days to drink. I mean, like here's like what, right? And it's a mud pit right now, literally a mud pit. There's like rocks in it and stuff.
Oh,
And it like needs like drainage. I know we put new stuff in them, but like since it's been raining, like 2 of them, like get really.
Which playground is this?
That's where I live, like in Deerfield and Heather's Glen.
Deerfield.
Like it's just like, like the playground is so fun, like, but like,
Yeah.
they take like, I'll take the 2/3 drain, but like this one, the even though it's drained is still like walking through mud.
Huh.
It's almost like, I don't know, throwing some out there, right? Like, it's almost like you need to like take the wood chips out. In the back, there's like a hill, it's almost like you need to put some drainage below, let it stream back into like the swamp when it, like, these under drainage refill the wood chips, like, I don't think that, I don't know how, it's almost an operating thing / like work, like the playground itself, I don't think anyone had any problems with. It's really like the end 2 with the swings that had the problem, the middle one, like, babies had a problem once in 10 years. The swing ones that are like swamp.
Yeah.
Infested.
Okay.
I don't know if other.
Well, the crocodiles.
But like,
got it.
well, I mean, there's a couple like neighbors that like said they're gonna call on the gas and stuff, like what's going on. And it's really not like if it filled and drained in the day, I think people are okay, but it's the one that like stays super swampy. Like 2 days after it rains, 3 days after.
Yeah, she trained it.
They were like, hey, it was 24 hours straight, back to work.
Okay.
And
I wonder, is the soil there kind of lake based, or I'm surprised that it's not tiny.
I don't know. I know like a bunch of the areas where like it was rocky, some were filled, so maybe that was a fill area. I don't know if like they filled like that particular area or not in the park. I don't know like what's below the playgrounds. I mean, the rest
Yeah,
of the
well,
dirt's
that's what
around them. So I don't know if like maybe it was filled, they put it below it that was bad, like like below the wood chips. I don't know what's below, but it's it does seem like it's more like clay or like a dark
clay
clay
will hold.
come up. Maybe it was clay put below them. I don't know.
Was that something that was done by the developer?
No, well, yeah.
I think it was
wouldn't
built
have
in
been
the
done.
community.
It wouldn't have been done by
Wasn't done by the-
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, like here's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's-
So that only happened, like this is from a while ago, but like this one is still,
And that's still water.
that's all water.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, having lived at Fairview where things, for 10 years, you know what development left behind, it wasn't good.
Yeah. But I don't know, that's just like almost like a main, like getting talked about putting like the golf courses get like drained full of bunkers, maybe that's like.
Right,
but
right.
that- I don't know,
Yeah,
if
and
it's,
that
I'm
seems-
just throwing some out there.
That seems pretty straightforward, that we could just, like you said, kind of excavate, put in a
Tube or something.
tube, right, so that the water drains and then goes out into the woods.
I mean, there's in the back of the hill that goes down, I mean, you gotta do a little digging and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's not,
Right.
doesn't seem like it would be a large cost, maybe put some new
Oh,
timbers on the
right,
outside, it wouldn't be like a,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
a
just,
pretty expenditure, I don't think. They
right.
shut it down for a couple of days, we were doing work, but like,
Although I have to ask the question, what's at the bottom of the hill you refer to?
it's
Well, it all slopes down to a stream,
Oh,
which
okay.
is
I
pretty,
mean, there's no house or anything, there's no.
pretty far away, yeah.
Yeah, the stream's probably 100 feet.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
I mean, the water naturally runs off, right? It's not, you're not flooding sometimes.
Yeah, we're not solving one problem by creating another.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's the only feedback I had. I don't know if you had. Town council referrals, Mark? Correspondence and communications. That's about. There was a couple of questions I think I had, we'll just run through them here. I thought this year we were gonna get new personnel for parks maintenance, doing weeding, weed whacking, things like that. Like, there was discussion last year of adding, like the town added someone to your parks not the golf course, but like
Right.
parks, yeah, did that occur?
in,
I don't know, physically or county or
Yeah,
discussion
so
last
this-
year.
fiscal year, we I think we added one person this year.
And what my question was really going to is like, one of the big feedback people hear when I visit all the parks was, a lot of them had weeds in the parks. So if, like we hire the
Oh,
person, are we gonna
right,
have a
right.
better meet, like, you know, you can only have so many people, you know, they don't have a chance to go mow and weed like that.
Right.
So like, they added someone, I wanna, not really many weed right now. But like, they come, you know, the next month, like, is that gonna be in a job R&R to do at parks, you know, across the town? To, well, weed the playgrounds or keep them a little more maintenance, whether it's spraying or
Yeah,
whatever.
well,
hack.
We can no longer spray.
Okay.
So that just means we have to weed more often.
Is that a town regulation?
Council approved a few years ago. They said you couldn't use, I mean, we were using Roundup.
Yeah.
Which is very effective.
Yep.
Said no.
I'm gonna bring it up in the next time. Because I mean, like, you know, you're fighting losing battle, like, I got it, but you know, you're increasing the town's cost for something that works. So, I got it, you can't do anything about it, got it.
Yeah.
But, so I guess my
And
question
we
is,
have-
if that's something we can, if you do it more regularly too, it's not a lot of work, because, you know, as you do a little bit at a time, it doesn't grow to
Yeah.
push, but, yeah, that would be the ask, I think if we have a person, can they do that, that's one of the basics of things, so.
Good news.
It's not
is
just,
we have our full complement of seasonal staff and
Good.
summer staff this year. So, you know, it really helped that we increased the hourly rate. I think they were getting paid 16 and now they're getting paid 20. And we've seen that that's had a,
good uptake.
we've got a lot more interest in, but like I said, I think we had 2 kids that started today, another one starts in a couple of weeks when he graduates high school. So, and their primary goal, or their primary job is weed whacking. So,
I have seen a lot of parks that have a lot more weed whacks, that's good. I've seen that, like, that's good, so.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. There was a team, the Saturday that we were having the flea market. There was a team on the campus there, between the library and Thrive,
oh, yeah,
weed whacking the curbs,
okay.
and then the sweeper came around. Was that Public Works? or
That was
that
probably
Parks?
Public Works. Yeah, because we don't have a sweeper.
I didn't think so.
I think from the last council or something, there was a lot of talk on the fields, like, you know, the field stuff coming up.
Yeah,
I don't know if are you gonna mention anything in
I
that?
am,
Okay, so, cool. SB Butler, is that part of Parks and Rec maintenance?
yes.
There's a lot of signs, like, I saw some meetings or something, like, you know, state committee or whatever. Is there anything that you're gonna brief us on this, or that we should know about for SB Butler, any plan, discussion, goals?
You know, John would have been a great person to ask.
Okay.
So at last night's council meeting, John was there, I was there. There was a developer there that it's the preferred developer for the Pleasant Valley, the former Pleasant Valley School project.
Okay.
And I think once they've gone through the process of bringing this developer on board, then they'll be looking to do something in SB Butler.
Okay.
And I think that's what they're trying to figure out. There's a lot of signs around town that says keep SB Butler green.
Yeah.
You know, right now there's a playground there. The Parks and Rec Department, along with Public Works, rebuilt the baseball field that's there. And so we're maintaining that until we figure out, and when I say we, until the town figures out exactly what's gonna take place there.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be kind of a hybrid of, some of it will remain green, and some of it may turn over to some type of housing to address the housing.
I think that makes sense. I didn't know if it was gonna come to us for recreation, you know, because kind of where my head's going around. Like, sounds like, you know, we talk community parks like that, like you said, the ball field in there, that's a good community type
Yeah.
park area, but
Yeah.
the whole thing doesn't, you know, from a maintenance standpoint, probably we need like some of it to be a community park and some of it could go.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
whatever makes
there's,
sense for housing.
Yeah. right. Yeah, and so I think that's the plan, but,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cause almost like where the basketball court is to the left, you keep all that for public parks, like town, like community park, and then the rest goes to whatever makes sense.
yeah. But that will not be up to me, it will be up to the public, and,
Now, as long as you've mentioned it, what is the plan for Pleasant Valley? What is the developer proposing?
I think mixed use housing, I think maybe some low end or moderate income. Last night, and this is the 40,000 foot view, they talked about 300 units.
Oh, in that space?
And there was going to be a park on one side and open space on the other side. Again, those are just, I mean, you can watch the council meeting, there was a bunch of slides.
Thanks, I will.
Yeah.
No, because,
And they even said last night that, you know, these are, again, just high level conceptual plans, as they go through the permitting process, they may find. Those numbers. That's what was presented last night, that's all I know.
I'm not sure messengers.
And so when these occur, like that land gets sold, like this town land gets sold to like public investors, gets sold to public individuals, I assume, correct? Like, in that case, public. Like right now, like for us to Butler or this one, like you, at the park, the direct maintains the whole space, even so.
Right, yeah.
So like, it might be split land and part of it stays Parks and Rec, part of it goes to
Right,
private entity, will say, and that.
yeah, now I'm not, you know, I don't know if that playground would become our responsibility or whether it would be maintained by the developer. And
TBA, I guess.
yeah.
I guess it depends on if it's single houses or a community.
Right, so like Trident Square,
Mhm.
there is a playground there that's open to the public.
Yeah.
We have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But Deerfield, you know, where they built all kinds of houses, that became our responsibility. So I would assume, but I don't know for sure, that whatever takes place at SB Butler would probably be, the playground would be maintained, it's open to the public, but it would be maintained by the developer. If we follow the same pattern as Trident Square.
Where's Trident Square?
Trident Square is where the former, well, it's the
Charleston,
Just
Sealy.
William Sealy.
William
So
Sealy.
when you're about to go over the bridge headed south, that development,
Yeah, the one they're building right now. I got what you're saying.
yeah, that's,
The one
that's William Sealy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's Trident.
Yeah, so it's probably an apartment type thing for multi-unit developer.
Yeah.
Those are apartments, I think, right? Yeah, apartments.
Yes, Trident Square.
So I guess it depends on apartments or housing. Yeah, probably
Yeah,
housing is probably
yeah.
Parks and Rec realistically, and then apartments is probably the,
That seems to be the pattern.
makes sense.
Yeah.
There's another playground that's supposed to go in the Heather Glen area, that developer.
Yeah,
Any communication?
you know, I checked in with the public works director 3 weeks ago, and he said he hasn't heard from the developer.
And good. Reports, the director, report Mark.
Yeah, so in addition to the monthly report, just to give you a couple of updates. Marquardt Park, the new playground is in, the new safety surface is in. We had somebody from the town's insurance company come and inspect the playground yesterday. It meets all code requirements, and we're getting ready to open that. We just need to take down some caution tape because we had it closed off until it was inspected. So that project, the phase one of that project will be complete. Phase two will take place in the fall. And that is building 2 dedicated handicap parking spots, putting in a paved path from those handicap parking spots. One is going to the playground, and 2 continuing on to the basketball courts.
Are you gonna have a grand opening or something for the phase one? Just
Not
do it.
not for that, yeah.
So they're just gonna do some paving work in some spots. Public Works is gonna do that, I assume.
Yeah, yeah. And then they're gonna put in some type of a swale. This has all been permitted and approved, because the parking lot slopes all the way down. So the water needs a place to go. The pump track, which is, that work is starting next week.
That's the one that's by the, like, ball point.
Yes, yeah, just before you go into. Yep. And work is about to begin on the Pop Family Park trails. I believe that may be starting next week also.
And it's just the trails, there's no parking on it, correct?
No, it's just trails.
What's the status of the trail finding?
Yeah, we're still working on that. We're working on getting a tactile map, which is for folks that are blind or visually impaired, so they can go over and kind of through Braille and through 3D. It's like a 3D map. They'll be able to kind of see where, they'll be able to understand where things are and be able to, using Braille, there'll be an explanation too. And part of that will be an explanation of the soundscape technology, which is using the app on your phone.
Right.
Yeah. And we're also planning on putting up posts and connecting it with rope, so that, if somebody doesn't want to use the app, they can still.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and we've identified different spots that people can stop on the trail. And the app will actually, you can embed kind of like voiceovers. So, you can, somebody stops at a designated location, say a large glacial boulder, they'll be able to, hear what they're kind of feeling and an explanation. And so we've got some geology components, we've got just some, like we're gonna have an audio file that's got birds that are common to the area, so they'll be able to hear, like, robins and whatever else they decide to put on the audio file. And so we're working on all of those things right now.
Lots to go into that, yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
We're trying to, if we're gonna do it right, and so it's, trying to fit that in with everything else that's going on. It's, things always take longer than you plan. And so that's kind of it for the director's, well, it's actually department report, but. So moving on to the golf course.
And for the
Oh,
director,
yes,
so 2 questions.
Yeah.
Community gardens, I think a lot of people use them, so that's good. Is that like a sustainment? How do they get paid for? Like, is that like under your operating costs, or like is there grant stuff, or how does that?
Yeah, so
year to year?
people will actually pay to have a garden.
Okay, so it's a self-sustaining thing, 'cause people
It
pay
is.
for the garden fund.
Yes, yeah, and we use the money that we collect for the 2 community gardens. That money goes into a separate account, and then we use that money to buy hoses and
I'll see that.
different things like that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There was a community tree mapper in there.
Yeah.
Did we get that for a year? Do we pay yearly? Like, how does that work? I thought the grant for something was just the 1-year grant we got.
No, the tree mapper is ours. Our GIS coordinator, Noah, who works in the IT department, he built that.
Right,
So
from
he took all of the data that we paid a consultant when we did the street tree inventory. He took all of that data and built that database. And so, yeah, and so now we maintain that, if we take out a tree, it gets reported to NOAA. And that gets updated, because each tree has its own kind of page of information. There's a picture of the tree. It talks about, how much oxygen it releases, how much carbon it brings in. It talks about, and it assigns like a value to the tree and how it improves like stormwater runoff.
So that's all in the GIS system now?
Yeah, that's all in the GIS system.
Before we leave trees, I have to ask, is the serviceberry tree that was planted on Arbor Day replacing the one that the truck ran over?
No, the truck didn't run over that one. The truck ran over one closer to Thrive 55
Oh, okay.
on the corner, but that one has been.
That's already been replaced, but.
It has, yeah, that was replaced last year. Yeah, and it was interesting. We had a forester from DEP come and talk about the serviceberry tree. And I didn't know the history of the serviceberry, so she said that in the old days, the reason that it got called the serviceberry was because it flowers early, but it tended to be a signal that the ground was the frost had come out and you could bury somebody that had passed during the winter. And so they called it serviceberry. Yes.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I love it. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, I won't either now, and there's a couple other names for it, but the serviceberry stuck with me, like, oh, okay, yeah. So when the serviceberry blooms, we can bury, Aunt Bertha.
Start planting.
We can bury Aunt Bertha because the ground is, it was kind of funny, it was funny, yeah. Golf course, we're implementing a new software, Club Caddy. We actually have a meeting tomorrow with the Club Caddy rep to transfer the database over. I met with Golf Pro and the superintendent today, and we talked about one of the enhancements that we're getting is there'll be a mobile app associated with Club Caddy, so you'll be able to book online and different things like that. And they're also will be updating the website. So we're going to be taking all of the website information that we currently have and putting it in a much more interactive web page that graphically will look.
We're gonna use that for like messaging, new stuff, basically just new one.
Yeah. So like if Eric aerates the tees or the greens, he'll be able to post that so golfers will know that the greens.
And that'd be good, especially when the course is closed. That's the big thing. People. You can post those types of comments.
Right. Yeah, and there's a number of enhancements, like the mobile app has a rangefinder because it downloads the course information on your phone, and it tells you, okay, this is where you've hit the ball. You've got 120 yards. Yeah, so.
And that's going live, you think?
It takes about a month to do that. So at this point, I'm thinking maybe sometime in July. Girls Coordinating Task Force.
Okay, golf, thanks for
Yeah.
There was, and Jim isn't here, so we can't make motions, but like, there's been a lot of talks. I've been playing there, about every week now. I think started, but like a lot of talk with the flag still going back to the traditional colors.
Yeah.
Because there's no guide that shows you where the flag is that people know and everyone. So like, I was gonna propose to make a motion tonight to actually bring it back because we talked about it like a year ago and nothing ever happened. I think someone put a petition in. So I don't know if they officially did it or not.
Yeah.
So like, I guess be prepared. Like I'm gonna try to make a motion next time to bring that to the I don't know where it goes, but like
Okay,
there hasn't been any traction, and I think
no,
people are a little frustrated with myself. So like,
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's just like,
As
there
it
was
is.
a reason of like, hey, why did we go to this? Is there a reason? Like, is there things, nothing has come back? So like,
well, the reason
people-
is because the course is a historic course.
I got,
The
but
course was originally built.
80% of people don't like that play it. So there was petitions that did, so I got that's what they wanted,
That's
but
the
then,
reason, it's a historic course, so
Okay,
we're
but-
trying to maintain the tradition of our
I
historic
got it,
course.
but over at people play it don't want it, so, I know there's a petition submitted, I'm personally in that same bucket, right? It makes it hard when you're hitting, like you're playing, you used to see a flag color, green is, red is front, white is middle,
Yeah,
blue is, so people like wanna see that,
right,
or want a card in the clubhouse that shows a pin location every time it gets changed.
Yeah.
So like, we
yeah,
don't have either one of those right now,
right.
so we're failing.
Yeah.
And I'm like very active about this.
Well,
It's a big thing.
It may make you a better golfer, Mike.
Yeah, but you don't know where the pin is, so you can't hit to it.
Yeah.
Like if you're 200, if you're 150 yards back, you don't know what club to use because you don't know if you're hitting to the front of the green or the back of the green.
Yeah, so you're one of the few guys without a range finder. 'Cause
I
everyone knows that.
I do not have a manual range finder. A lot, some people do, a lot of us have apps on our phone, but
Right.
the app that only tells you to center your green. You don't know if the pin is in back or front. So like a true rangefinder, like the people have them, like the little one you pull out,
Yeah,
only probably about 30% of the golfers actually have a true rangefinder. Everyone uses digital apps. And
yeah,
the app will tell you to the center green, but you don't know, you might not want to hit to the front or to the
right,
back, and
right.
it could be a club difference.
Yeah,
But because the app are digitally updated to where the actual pin is, because the pin changes every like 2 days.
right,
So like, that's the problem.
okay,
So I mean, like, I think if there was a card, maybe the app thing, like
Yeah.
that have, if that truly got updated where the pin placement is.
Yeah.
That could be an option A, or the flags going back, but like, I guess I'm gonna make a motion that next meeting, we're ready, like, one of those two occurs. Because I think a year now, nothing's happened, is perfect. And I got it that it's traditional, but, you know, I'm glad that it's traditional, but if 8% of people don't like it, then. Bad. That's just my opinion, I mean, like, majority of people spoke, right, like, you know, just because.
I know.
I wouldn't say a majority.
I would say majority, maybe not 80%, I would say everyone that I've talked to, but one person playing in 20 matches did not like that.
Yeah.
To me, that's a majority. So I'm just,
This is-
throw it out there,
Sure.
Yeah.
if you want to play with that, opponents, whole players, just like, so.
Okay,
I know like there hasn't been appetite from the council to spend, you know, because there's other priorities in the town, we're talking like CIP projects and stuff like that, so of course. But I think there's, you know, there's some coming up that look, you know, that have been good. But I know there was talk of like, hey, you know, I think the sprinkler system is really a big one for the course.
Yeah.
And they haven't started like the bathroom. Construction on the 9th,
Right.
8th hole, and I didn't know if we like did consider, we talked about maybe considering using those funds for something different, is that an option, is that something that's being pursued, or like, are we going with that bathroom, is there any like thoughts on that?
well, so I don't remember if we shared at the last meeting, the bids that we got in
Yeah,
for the bathroom. We were 150,000, they were 150,000 over what we had budgeted.
Yeah.
So right now, we don't have the money
Okay.
to build a bathroom.
Okay.
You know, CIPs are set up for specific projects. Now, we could potentially close that project out. And then the money goes into CIP fund balance,
Okay.
because not all money gets spent on all the projects. Sometimes, you know, you budget for a project and then things change. Or you like, oh, well, we can do this and it's not gonna cost us as much, we get the
Yeah.
same
I
outcome.
understand.
So anyway, that money all goes back to fund balance.
Yeah.
And then that money can get reallocated for something else. So we've had projects that were paid for from CIP from, so other years,
Okay.
you know, projects didn't get done, and it's not specific to us. It could have been a project with Public Works that,
Yeah, then across town.
yeah,
Yeah, just
Yeah.
that would be my serious recommendation, is really get the clubhouse one hole away. I mean, I think it's a nice thing to have, but like, you have the clubhouse one hole away, that you're
yeah,
at, so like building something is nice, but like, if the course has more pressing needs,
right.
probably not the best use of it.
Yeah, because
Although-
I don't play That is that the bathroom that's near the maintenance area?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's been planned for years.
Oh, yeah, yep. And we finally got it into a CIP and I don't recall how much money we had budgeted, but we went out to bid for both that bathroom building and the maintenance building, putting a new shell in the maintenance
Right.
building, because there's holes in the roof, there's holes on the side.
Priority, definitely priority.
Yeah, and that, that project is set to start sometime in June.
Right.
But the bathrooms, I think it was $150,000 short.
What I was really getting at, Mark, is it seems like there must have been an impetus to install that bathroom.
Oh, yeah, the women golfers have been asking for that. I mean, that project probably goes back 7 or 8 years.
So what I'm trying to say, Mike, is don't be too quick
Okay.
to dismiss that
And
bathroom.
I guess maybe the question I almost have then is like, did they really want it on that hole, or do they want it more like in the middle?
Well, hole number 9 is.
No, there's a clubhouse right there too. I guess that's what.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't,
I mean-
I'm not on my own play, I'm just thinking like, maybe they really want it, maybe there's a good need, but like, maybe that wasn't the optimal location. And I'm thinking like, if they had all I'm saying is like, that's on hole 8, and then you have that hole, and you have the main clubhouse. Do they think that like, maybe with the new bathroom, the new clubhouse, which wasn't there before, that took, I don't know, that's what I'm saying. It might be worth like asking some of these questions to the women's league to say like, like, maybe it's become over with, maybe it's still valid, like you said. I think it's a good question if we spend the funds though, because maybe there wasn't enough bathroom space in the one, now the new one there is, and it's like, oh, we're happy, I don't know.
Right, yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons.
I'd ask before we go.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that site was chosen was because we'd be able to, it was a flushable
Plumbing.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we could tie into the plumbing
And I thought it was
in the
originally,
maintenance building.
I thought it was really part of the maintenance building. Like I thought the original plan was to have
Oh,
it
no,
tied
it was-
to the maintenance building, so it was
Right.
part of it, and then
Right.
replaced it.
Yeah. So
But the,
if you move it to someplace else in the course, then it maybe goes and
It
becomes
could be more.
a
Gotcha.
a fancy portalet.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was just gonna ask, the bathroom that's being installed by the pickleball courts.
Yeah, that is a flushable system, but it's still a portalet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
But the
and
fact-
that is $104,000.
So it's still the same ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that could potentially be an alternative too.
And quicker, I would assume.
Yes, it would be quicker.
Just, I think it's worth asking those questions.
Yeah.
Location, cost, like, I think,
Yeah,
so I got,
just, double check on the need.
else, unless you have anything.
No, nothing further.
Okay.
Okay. Trails Coordinating Task Force, there was no meeting. Athletic fields, so last night, at the council meeting, the council approved to move forward with a $14.5 million bond
Mhm.
for phase 1 of the athletic fields. And that, the first phase is focusing, excuse me, primarily or entirely at the high school. And that's putting in new stadium seating, because that's not ADA compliant. Putting in an 8-lane track instead of a 6-lane track, and making the field inside the track wider so that it can be used by more than one sport. Right now, it can only be used by football. Because it's not wide enough for soccer or lacrosse. And there's still discussion on whether we go to, it becomes synthetic turf or natural turf. And we're going to the council to I don't know, we're going to the council in June to try to get a hard decision on what they want to move forward.
For that, I know someone had asked me to come speak at one of those meetings for like field types. Just canceled.
Oh, yeah, the council canceled a couple of meetings.
So the 14.5 million, that's not voted on, so that's just gonna happen.
No, so that will go to referendum.
That'll go for them in November.
In November, yes.
So they made a decision not, they just to only put that on.
Yeah, there was a discussion last night about putting forward a bond for the full amount, which would be 60 million.
Yeah.
Because over the course of time, well, there's a couple advantages to doing it, to bonding all of them. One is the way that the council is approaching it now, there's no guarantee. With a new council, the new council say, no, this is not a priority.
Yeah.
So it could be that the remaining future renovations to the athletic field don't happen.
Yeah.
Because the council says, no, we're not interested. By going with the full 60 million, committing that over 4 years, phasing it over 4 years, but committing all the money up front.
Yeah.
You've got the money to do the project.
Yeah.
The other benefit is it's gonna cost the town less in the long run.
Yeah.
For one bond versus bonding 4 times
Yeah.
over the next however many years.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was, but that motion didn't pass, so they went back to 14.5 million for the next 4 years. And the reason that they chose, they're trying to keep it at 14.5 million because what the town pays towards the bond for the schools.
Yeah.
It drops about $14.5 million each year. So they were like, okay, if we can keep it at 14.5 million,
Yeah.
we're dropping, it goes back up, dropping, it goes back up. So
But why couldn't they, and I guess my question, so that's what makes sense, and I agree as a taxpayer, that makes sense, but how come we couldn't just agree that the 60 million, like, have a vote on the referendum for the 60 million, just say, that's gonna take 6 years? Like, meaning like, we agreed to all these projects, that people vote as town and say, we want them all, but like, we're gonna do them, we're gonna phase them in over a 5 or 6 year period.
Right.
Like, each year is $15 million, say, right, so
Yeah.
you got, if it's $60 million, looking at a 4 year period, so you
Right.
approve it and you say, because the problem is if you go to vote in November, there may never be another vote for the rest of the stuff. And then you got people show up to a vote and like I think about, I'm gonna actually go speak to this next council meeting, that's what I wanted to do the last one, because to me, it's like, I agree, you don't wanna, I don't think, if I had a kid, it makes sense, but if you're keeping a level loaded, where you're doing 15 a year, it makes sense because you're decreasing the school budget.
Right.
But I wanna approve it now, knowing that it's gonna be a phased approach.
So you would obligate the future town councils to honor the vote.
right.
Yeah, they would have to, so you're voting, the public would vote of just do one or do all, they could have an option A or B on the ballot.
Oh, yeah, there was a discussion about that.
And then if you did all, then the option would be is that like, we're approving this, although we're not gonna see the increase year one, you're gonna see it over like, it would be worded on the ballot as like, we approve the full use of $60 million, maybe some contingency, right? Like, and then, but like, we're not gonna spend it all year one, it's gonna be phased over these years to minimize the tax burden. Good, I'm gonna have your discussion.
No, I understand.
Because I worry like you do this, then you know, like, then you get people psyched up, they're gonna go vote, and then like, myself, I wasn't in this, now I'm gonna go in next 4 elections and vote, and be like, why do I keep voting for Fields, like, it's kind of
Right,
bad taste in my mouth, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not, that's sort of part of my attitude with Fields anymore. You know, sort of thing to do, like,
yeah,
I
it's
already,
like, what, I've already voted for it twice.
why am I gonna vote to replace the roof of my shed, then the roof of my house, and the roof of my bar, like, you know what I mean, like, it didn't make sense, like, I'm done with it that way. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway,
So anyway, that's what they're moving forward with, and it's a pretty tight timeline. There's a lot of things that have to take place in order to meet the November deadline. I think it has to, the language has to be approved and the RTM has to approve it, and there's a whole bunch of
So, on the
things. that-
on the 10th, is that like public speak at that, you know, is that one of the public meetings? Really? I know the first one of each month is usually.
Yeah, the public to be heard is the council meeting. I think it's the first council meeting. The council of the whole,
Yeah.
there's no public to be.
So
heard.
the synthetic first thing, is there something that Fields is presenting, like, person presenting in terms of what you want? Or is that, how is that decision being made?
Or,
For synthetic versus grass?
that will be. That will not be. That will be a council of the whole meeting,
There's no, it's just they decide.
yes.
I should go next
I'm trying to. Yeah,
week. That was a big
You
question.
can always send a letter.
yes,
Um,
okay.
the last one is, but the POCD workshop, so I guess, I don't know, it's tough, because I feel like we have to almost send it in, because like, they're started now. Like, it's June, and like, they're starting that.
Yeah, I don't-
Like, I feel like we can't wait. Personally,
Yeah, I don't know what the timeline is, I can check.
I mean, if they're doing work.
Well, it's not until. I don't think they're planning to get it finished this year. I don't know what the timeline.
The one thing, I read the document and everything was fine except for the line. Do you have it up, Mike? Second one, okay, I really think we should know.
It was a lot. I mean,
If we
You want, here's a hard
Sorry,
copy.
Okay. There was a comment about the aquatic center.
does say aquatics. Sure,
Um,
better. Been lost. Oh, it might have been, I think it was this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and too. Here it is, okay.
What do you think we should change?
I would take out that last sentence.
Didn't we get approved, didn't you get approved for aquatics center study this year anymore?
We did not,
So you wanna take that, I'm just gonna highlight it just so I'm clear.
not the whole part. I would leave that in, it's just the last sentence.
This?
Oh,
That's-
yeah,
This
this
is
yes.
set up,
I don't think we want to even
Yeah.
tip our hand by saying we put it on the back burner,
okay, just take this sentence out.
because all of the surveys we've had, the residents want one.
never do.
Yeah, so we don't want to have that in there because we're saying that we're ignoring.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
Thank you.
Any other comments you're thinking?
No.
Okay. We can strike that easy. I must have this words. Let us know, I mean, okay. I think the last,
So do you want me to find out the due date for the P O C D?
yeah, and the reason is because like if it's due like in August, right, then like if we don't get our input until mid-July, then it's really not gonna be. It's useless
Yeah.
almost. So like, I mean, what my proposal would be is like, I think if you can let me know maybe like this week what it is, my proposal would just be is like, hey, we don't have a quorum today, can't vote on it as a commission. I would just, if it's due in like December or whatever, we're good. Like, you know, but if it's like due in like July, like August or something, I almost wanted to say, if you're good with it, we, you know, as a commission, we did not vote on this thing or whatever, send it in. Some of the commissioners have some feedback individually, we can vote, you know, provide a final vote one or later on, but here's a preliminary draft or something.
Or you can do a memo to me,
Yeah, that's fine.
same thing.
Yeah, same thing as with.
So let me find
Find
out,
out what it's due, if
Yeah.
it's something, then if it's due like, you know, if it's due a month too, I'll do a memo to you. And then if not, we'll just wait till next one.
I have a feeling. I think we have some time because I haven't had an email or a phone call from planning saying, hey.
Okay.
Parks and Rec Commission hasn't given us their feedback, so I think we're good.
Okay. Just let me know what it's due.
Yeah,
And then we'll just, I mean, like the whole PC, not like for sale. I don't know, ours might have been like, they asked for it, maybe they're just like, whatever we got, we take it, rolled it in. You know what I mean, they might not just ask each committee.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know if our thing was officially needed to get back when they wanted it, but if the whole
Right.
PCD is done in August, then like our feedback becomes null at that point, but try to get it. There was proposed 26 CIPs, Mark, you had put everything you wanted to say about them.
Yeah, so I
Questions?
I put together a summary sheet of all the projects.
Yeah.
So uh, at the RTM, they elected to lump all the projects together into one number. Normally, it's reviewed project by project. They lumped them all together in one.
For all departments or just by department?
Well, for each department, they lumped all of the CIPs together and voted on one number. They did the same thing for Parks and Recreation. So they have 9 projects approved.
So do they normally go to town council then RTM, or what's the order?
Oh, normally it goes to the town manager.
Yeah.
Then it goes to the full council.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the RTM.
So did everyone before the RTM approve everything?
Yes,
So we're,
yeah.
okay,
So
it's fine.
there we go.
Yeah, now, the only asterisk to that is because of the uncertainty with federal government funding for education. And from what I understand, the town of Groton receives some special funding because it's a military community towards education. If the decision is made that that's no longer a priority, all of these CIP, the funding for these CIPs will go away. So what they did was they're holding the $901,000, which they approved, until December. And they're hoping that they'll have some clarity in December. Now, there were 2 projects that were an exception to that. One was continued work on the golf course because it's being paid through the golf fund balance. And then the other project was replacing the stairs at Snake Hill Park, which is in Knowing. There's a set of stairs that goes down to a really small beach. The stairs have been there for 30 years and they're falling apart. And so they're keeping that money available as of July 1. All the other projects got pushed back until December, which essentially means it will be a year from now that we're working on those projects. Because, a lot of these were like improvements to Field 2 at the Groton Community Center. A couple of years ago, we did Field 1. We got money for Field 2, but I can't start that in December.
No.
Yeah.
So it'll be either next spring or a year from this fall before we can do that.
I mean, it probably is a decision.
Oh, no, I know, yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Put it mildly.
It makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
So the bases are all passed. Just it makes sense. I mean, as a taxpayer, right? If we get them, and then we screw ourselves.
And I
it's right.
And I put together a summary sheet of all the different projects.
The only question I had is there was a Windward Passage playground.
Yes.
So I'm not familiar with that area, to be transparent.
Yeah.
Where,
It's in District 4.
okay,
It's in the Bailey Hill area. So if you were approaching the Nautilus,
okay,
so the sub base is on your right.
yeah,
Nautilus is in front of you. You take a left and head down that road, and then you come to a fork in the road. If you take a left and start going up the hill, and you take a couple of other lefts, and it's on,
I got feeling that,
forget the name of the road.
but somewhere up there.
Yes, and it's a
Okay.
small playground between 2 homes. Oh, wait a minute. Did I mention the name of the road?
That's very.
Somewhere over here though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It makes sense, there's probably nothing really out there, so.
Yeah, there's been a.
Is there a playground there today already?
There is a
So
playground.
it's
there.
redoing the playground.
It is, yeah, and
And
it's
then-
making it clear that it's a public playground. Because there's no sign,
Yeah.
there's no like path to get down to it.
You can just go by and not know. it's there.
Yeah,
That's
because
good.
it's down between two houses, you know, the houses, the backyards go like this and they put the playground right there, so you can drive by it. And there'd be licensed playground.
Did, out of curiosity, like we chose to redo this one, right? We chose to do Farquhar before, right? You know, we're doing some of these as we go, right?
Yeah,
Is there any like, when you did as a town, we did like the field, there's been a lot of community input, you know, like what do you want? It feels like we do these, I'll call it local playgrounds. Is there like community feedback, like influence them? What I guess I'm trying to say is like, did people want like a young kids playground or do people want like a mid kids playground? Like, is there input from the local
yeah,
people?
well,
I don't live there, so I wouldn't want to provide it. Like, you know, for the people that live there, like what type of structures or playground they were looking for?
well, the tricky thing is neighborhoods are turning over
I guess it's true.
constantly, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get a bunch of kids,
Yeah.
you get
true.
families that move in that have young kids.
Yeah.
They get to a certain age and then they start, you know, they move to a bigger house or they move, and then, you know, and then it kind of turns over. So, you know, building it for one group works for a little while, and then you've got young kids, so it's difficult.
So you're just having like a smorgasbord of stuff that we think makes the most sense there then?
Yeah, I mean, we have taken feedback. We did a national night out a couple of years ago where we had all kinds of different playground pieces.
Yeah.
And we let kids come up with a sticker and, you know, put it on there,
What they like.
like, oh, we really like this. And we incorporated that information into the work that we did at Farquhar Park. So there's like this
It has a basis.
this cool webbing, yeah. And you know, Windward Passage, when we did the level of service analysis, which was part of the recreation master plan, this was rated a 1, which is poor condition. So we're trying to prioritize those playgrounds that have been identified as having the greatest need to be replaced.
And another reason is because this is the neighborhood that's underserved overall.
Right, there's a lack of playground
Yeah, that makes sense.
parks in that area.
Yeah, so you have some feedback. Maybe that's
Yes.
So we have feedback of what to put there based on your other thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Is there a parking lot by it? Is there gonna be?
No, so we may, if the road width allows us, you know, put in a couple of parking spots. I mean, you can pull off to the side when we, you know, when I pull up to, look at it, I can just pull off to the side of the road. There isn't, you can't like go off the road and there's parking.
Yeah.
So it's on-road parking.
Yeah, I mean,
And, you know, I think it's primarily serving the people in that neighborhood.
Who would most likely be on foot.
Right.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, but, you know, by making some improvements and making the public more aware that there's a playground there. Oh, okay, well.
And especially if the Pleasant Valley school site ends up being developed into housing,
Yeah.
that's gonna be inaccessible during construction.
Yeah, well, there's no playground there in Pleasant
No.
Valley right now.
So I mean, it's not even alternative.
Right.
I think the only thing I noticed that I didn't bring on was the golf course thing, so like the new renovations look really good, but the one thing I thought that was kind of poor looking, and so they did some of the new holes, especially around like 7, 8, they put like a lot of the car paths were very rough. And they put some nice millings down, and it looks really nice.
Yeah.
But like, you have like, it was almost like your driveway and your walkway. You only did 3/4 of your walkway with the millings, and now you have a quarter of your old walkway.
Oh,
Still,
yeah.
maybe like the contract, maybe the vendor we did it with, only had that scope, and that's why they did it. But when
Right.
you look at it, it looks kind of like half finished. And I'm like,
right,
I assume millings come from like pulling roads up. And like we
yeah,
mill them up, so I assume the town has millings from like public works projects, like at the dump. Maybe I'm assuming wrong. So like, it might be good to say like, hey, can we spread some of those millings in to like finish the cart paths? Like for our own public works, like if it's, I say free, nothing's free, but like, if it's town workers and we have the material, it could be little effort to make the whole thing look nice and finish some of the cart paths. I think the millings are great, I don't think it needs to be paved, I don't think any of that, but like, I think there's some stuff like you look and you're like, you see this nice milling, then you have this little chunk section of like old decrepit, like,
yeah,
it just doesn't look
right,
good.
It kind of spoils the picture.
It spoils the picture, you have this really nice thing, and then it's like you didn't finish.
yeah,
This beautiful car is missing one thing, great, like, that's the cool, right?
No, I was driving down Eastern Point Road and the infamous fence along there. What is the status of that?
oh, you mean where somebody drove into the fence?
Well, yeah,
I thought
it's
they had-
an old rotty, messy fence. I know we've discussed it before and I've forgotten what the question of did it belong to the city, belong to the state?
Oh,
Remember that
oh,
one, the
that
chain
fence
link
is still,
fence?
yeah, that fence is still up.
Yeah, it is.
I don't. That's not a state road,
I think it is actually,
okay.
and the other issue was that it, the question of whether the city of Groton had to get into it. Because it's, the fence is city and land. Bordering
Wow.
roadway, it was one of those jurisdictional things,
Right.
but the thing's been on so hard.
Yeah.
And I just, it's a beautiful course,
Another one for you.
yeah, I mean,
Side mirror now.
it's not, it's not like a top priority, but it's just, every time I see it, it's like, oh, can't we do something about that?
I used to put it from that, yeah, I mean, that's a great example. Very simple, probably, someone takes someone a half day,
Take it
take
down,
that.
yeah, because I really don't see people driving onto the course, I know that was a concern.
Yeah, I think that was one of the concerns, right? Yeah, I'll check back into that,
And both of them are pretty simple things, now, yeah.
right,
Well, now, a piece of good news is the new automatic doors at Thrive, the community room are wonderful.
I think,
They are wonderful, they
Yeah.
made such a difference.
yeah, so we used to have those two sets of double doors that, required you to pull, and they replaced one set of double doors with sliding, so, and it's got a sensor, so as you approach, the doors slide open, so it makes it a lot easier for somebody with a walker who's trying to pull the door open and then get around with a
Those doors
walker.
were heavy, they were.
Yeah,
You're
they're,
talking about the, like, the wood,
no,
like, you go into the two front doors, and it was like, the third door, you walk straight in, every time?
no,
No, this is a community
Oh,
room,
okay,
Yeah.
and it faces, there are two toilets. And so it got a lot of use, but these doors were impossible for someone with any
That
kind
makes
of.
sense.
So this was ARPA money, so they're the type that slide like this, so there's no, nothing going
You can
into
store it there.
corners.
right,
But of course, they chose to install that on the Friday we were setting up for the flea
oh,
market.
really,
They
No,
were
but that's
wonderful,
good, that's good.
they locked them open because they weren't quite finished,
oh, yeah,
so it
yeah,
was fine,
yeah.
but
And
they're,
then there's the bathroom doors,
they're supposed to be done
there's gonna
too.
be a push button,
Mhm.
so that you hit the button, it's the same kind of thing.
I mean, that's a good use case, right, like, I wouldn't use it, but like, it's a good use case, people that, if use it to influence, and that's a good influence use
Yeah.
case, yeah.
Yeah, because Mary Jo did a list of what, if we had the ARPA money,
Right,
what would we
right.
want?
Yeah.
And those
I mean,
hit the top of the list,
that's
the
good.
two bathrooms.
And that's a building design,
And
I'm glad that,
Well, it's an
Yeah.
old, it's.
I got you, but I mean,
It's 15 years old now,
Yeah, no, it's hard to believe,
hard to believe,
yeah.
So I think we're good, right, we adjourn, I guess, do we stop do we recording now? And we don't need a motion because there's no one here.
Well, yeah,
But I think
and actually, because we had a.
right?
Yeah.
But we still have to post minutes,
Yeah, minutes, but I think,
yes.
Yeah, and I don't know if I have minutes, oh, well, I guess I would have taken those.
I will send you a document that can go up. Because what they said at that training was, there has to be a